find the segments, and then we just map it to some common thing.
Non-item and question answering is good enough for
Totally.
Can I have a follow-on question? For the interactive challenge, is it expert novice or just novice?
It's just expert.
I would also say so.
For the first year.
I mean, the other thing you have to consider at ACM Multimedia is that
Everybody's an expert. Yes.
well
They're an expert in something. They're not going to be an expert in nothing.
but you have a challenge session in parallel to 5 other things.
Well, we can make a challenge session in parallel to a welcome reception in the Guinness Storehouse if we wanted to.
No,
Yeah.
We have control.
we cannot run this in the Guinness
advertise,
Storehouse.
Why not? We have control. Completely, 100%.
He's thinking about something else.
But also it makes
Who
things
is running this?
complicated.
It can be a dry event.
A driver.
In the Guinness Storehouse.
You're digging yourself deeper. You're
I have flashbacks of Bangkok when the drinks came early, you know.
We call it LRUI, lifelong retrieval under influence, right?
What was it Bangkok?
But
The
if we
drinks
want-
came early and...
No.
If
Not
we,
sure if
It was,
Greece.
Huh?
Greece.
No,
VBS.
Bangkok.
I don't know.
Bangkok has no drinks for VBS.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
Bangkok had no drinks in the
Dry.
banquet either. It was a dry contest.
Yes.
Yeah.
Bangkok?
The drinks
Yeah.
came after.
MMM,
Yeah.
yes. In the Irish pub.
All right, let's focus less on the dry or wet and on the actual task at hand, please.
But if we want to get the community enthused, we have to do it as a general ACM multimedia something, right? If it's in a workshop in the Hyatt Parallel Hotel, it's the biggest room, and there's loads of other stuff happening at the same time, nobody gives a damn, it's just us.
But the question was experts and novices, right?
Yeah.
Experts is good enough, I think.
Because experts
Okay.
will be there.
So
Yes,
now,
the experts have to
Yeah.
be there with their
I'm going
systems.
to ask you the question. Put yourself in the middle of the conference next year. Okay? There is a grand challenge session. We'll be involved in a grand challenge session somehow, right? How do we enthuse people to get involved next year if we don't have a session, an actual competition?
So you're 1 year later, you mean?
I want
2026.
2026. How do we get people involved?
I think in the past the VPS community was very much interested in all the additional competitions, like also AVR4P, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
But
So,
you're
But the problem with the core VBS community is that it's
it's-
running out of capacity. So now there's
That's
already
true.
3 things per year, and people
Yes,
are
that's
kind of,
for-
oh, I don't have the time to do
So
anything.
no, not only time. You have to keep in mind that in Europe, fundings are getting cut everywhere, including the Netherlands. So travel is
How
going
do
to
we-
be increasingly issue.
Yeah.
Travel money, just like, and because of sustainability and so on, some universities are limiting even how many conferences. For you, probably, like Sweden kind of started. Is it Norway? But in
Ireland's
Sweden.
talking about it.
Norway has cut a lot.
We could
Really
also do
a
it
lot.
offline. I mean online, virtually.
But that would kill lots of the vibe, you know. So it's like,
Yeah.
Look,
So, Carl, you would suggest the novice session to get new people involved in the community, is that right?
excitement.
Because I would suggest that we have just the expert session, but then we also specifically have like maybe
But the
a
problem is,
demo
with
session?
expert sessions, we're all gonna be not taking part in it, right? That's
Yes.
the problem. We
But-
basically cut our community in half.
yeah,
Right,
but
back to
somebody
where we're
has to build the system anyways,
Yes.
right? And
Yes.
so they should
So
be
how do
there.
we make
anyway.
it easy for people to build systems? What support do we give? The challenge with Tien's guys, for example, is that your guys have to work with one of the existing systems.
Yeah.
How easy, if we want this to be big, how easy do we make it for people to take part? It's already a big data set, right? It's already difficult.
So there are 2 parts that you are talking. I think
Lots.
you are talking. One part is how to involve new people to kind of join, and the other one is how to make it more appealing at the conference.
It's the same thing to me. If we make it appealing, we attract new people.
Yeah. So that.
One is a subset of the other. Because, so how would you get people to do it at the conference? Make the same types of tasks in the offline and in the online thing. So then all the people who built something for the, I had all my algorithms run against this, might as well bring the intermediate results and slap some basic UI on top. So all the hard work is already done.
Right.
The former, I have no idea. Just make it an interesting task.
But I think if you allow novices, then it puts completely different requirements on the user interface.
Yes.
And
No,
I think that one is
This
the
makes
add-on
things so much
work
harder.
that you
Yeah.
don't
I
want
can,
to
I can build something I can operate. I
Yeah.
cannot necessarily, if I need to build something
I
anyone
get
can
that.
operate,
Yes.
Can I just show the other one? So do we? So this is another one now. Is the really point to win that, or just to have enjoyable experience for everybody? I think probably
But-
second one is more important.
Some people are
And I
very
think many
competitive.
people would like to try those systems. If
What-
people come there, imagine seniors from our community. They're like gonna be, oh, they wanna sit there and try. And students probably, oh, what is this thing? Let
no,
me
if,
try.
if
you
you,
know, like-
if
This
you
is-
participate to a grand challenge, people will, the substantial fraction of the people who will participate to a grand challenge in the classical sense will be in it to win it, not to just have a good time.
I agree.
But what if the plan of that is there is the expert session in the actual challenge session, but there is part of the demo session
Yeah.
where
Yes.
all
We could
the
do
systems
demo.
participating are there,
And a pseudo competition.
or like
I
a,
would, well, I wouldn't even
specific
frame it
area.
necessarily as a competition. I would suggest just having a sort of an open demo where people
Yeah,
can try
yeah,
out the systems.
but not just like interspersed somewhere, but a specific
Yes,
area
yes,
of the
absolutely,
demo, which
absolutely.
is
Grouped
the
And
lifelog
ideally
challenge.
with the experts there to explain the systems and
But what I believe, what I think actually it's really fun also for novices that join there, colleagues, audience. You see, why this is very interesting. I think I noticed first time that kind of effect in Iceland in 2017. Jan Soborov came from NIST, and I don't think he's seen this for a while. You know, I think he was involved from early TrackWiz, and KISS task was there, and yeah. So he was really, oh my god, I think we should make all benchmarks like this, you know, like this is like Olympics, you know, like but only for nerds, you know, and it was like, you remember, like,
Yeah.
Remember,
Yeah, but no.
yes, but Trek does
CGMM.
does still not do that. and I mean, he's still running Trek, so
Yeah.
he could have if he wanted to.
The reason we're still here is because SIGMM want to replicate VBS/LSE and ACM multimedia in some way. So they want that
Yes.
thing,
Totally.
right? So we still have to put on that thing.
Only
And that's the
fancy
demo
and
session
shinier.
thing, and that's enough, right?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
but it
But
has
it's-
to be zero stakes
Yeah.
because
Yes, okay, fine.
because
Yeah.
if you stake anything, if say, oh, this is the proper competition at the flagship conference and yada
Yeah.
yada yada, and then you rely on random people
No, that's
you've
the
never
problem.
seen. The participant with
Right.
the system that
Yeah.
performed best in the expert system, in the expert thing, who's gonna lose the competition because they got a novice that did not understand the task, they're gonna be pissed.
Okay.
So
Keep
this
the
is
separate
So
prices.
let's not do
No.
let's not do prizes.
Not
let's
do it a
let's
competition,
do let's
yeah.
do evaluation in terms of, look, we have clear parameters that we control as much as possible, and then we can argue this is a scientific benchmark because these are the things we can measure. And the other thing is the visibility, community service, blah 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 event. Let's say, look, we do demo. Everybody who's interested can do the
Yeah,
demo.
fine, I'm happy
And,
with
yes.
that.
and you
Yes.
can have more novices do that because
Yep.
you
Yes.
can just
Yeah.
change after every
Yes,
task, because
exactly.
otherwise you
Yeah.
wouldn't change, because if one novice has learned how to use the system, you want to keep
Yes.
them, but
Right.
Make it
there it doesn't
interesting
matter.
by having a prize for every round for the best novice. Simple, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
something
This
simple.
query-
Candy.
Hey,
Piece of candy.
congratulations,
Yep.
you get an
Piece
Easter
of
egg.
candy.
Congratulations, you
Yeah.
get
Piece of candy. Piece of candy.
Yeah.
That's it.
Ali's
Something.
painting.
Guinness.
Small, you know, small
Yeah,
whiskey,
yeah.
small whiskey,
Yes.
whiskey bottle.
Yes,
Something
exactly.
like this.
Or a bottle of whiskey every round.
No, yeah, but
Yes,
A bottle.
what's the budget of this? A bottle of whiskey every round?
Then the expert will do it.
You get to get people
Yeah.
enthused.
yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
That's fun.
Yeah,
It's
Totally.
Right,
Totally,
yeah.
totally.
at the right part of the conference. It exists where everybody is going to be.
So
Right,
you know
right.
what you can do? I did it for my students.
Well,
for
that's
something,
perception.
whatever.
Doesn't matter.
You
Something
buy a
like that.
bottle of wine and you buy chocolates, and then you ask them. You know, somebody doesn't drink. Somebody like, hey guys, the first one can choose. You know, like Moldovan wine, Georgian wine, or Italian. Plus there are chocolates. You know, you choose what you want. So somebody
Yeah.
picks.
Yeah, right.
And then hopefully by the next year, we have more people in to take part.
So one thing you could do is if you start with a preparation session where people just practice.
Yeah.
Then this happens. You know, you could even do the novice session at the welcome reception. After that, there's the competition.
Yeah, fine.
By that time, you will, that gives you pressure to debug things. You have some practice. You get to see some types of tasks. You have to create more tasks. That's the disadvantage, but otherwise you could recycle them.
Yeah.
But that might bring people, if they have seen this at the reception, to promise.
And the following year, the data set remains the same for the second year, and maybe provide some baseline retrieval system that people can use via an API to make it easier. By the way, I want to do this yourself. There's an API.
There's systems out there, right?
Yeah.
There's at least half a dozen things that have been participating in VBS/LSC that you can get from GitHub if anyone would ever bother to look at them.
To make it easier, basically you would give them like a prepared data set for that system so that this is ready to use. And
it should be made as easy as possible. Okay, have we decided?
Not sure.
Not sure about the exact logistics.
Would rather do expert session and then let everybody try.
Yes.
So why don't we do the expert session in the
This
workshop?
is also possible.
Right? Expert session takes place in a workshop, right?
Wait a second, you talk workshop, grand challenge and hackathon.
Yeah, we're doing. The way to get this. Look, we're in charge. The way to get this to work is we make it do it.
But the grand challenge can be a competition with the experts. And then
the grand challenge has got to be the asynchronous and the synchronous.
We were still
Right.
talking about the
Yeah.
synchronous.
Okay.
Well, I mean,
That's fine.
the Grand Challenge should also have the classical Grand Challenge aspect, as in you actually get to present your stuff with at least a poster.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's a leaderboard and blah blah blah.
This
So
is
all
good,
of this is happening beforehand.
With the grand challenge, there is a workshop that takes place before the grand challenge where you actually come and use your practice.
Okay.
By workshop, you mean an actual a co-located thing that happens in the workshop slot, or you mean a
It's up
session
to
in
us.
the but
in the workshop slot,
it
probably makes more
changes the
sense.
logistics dramatically.
yeah.
Because those are fundamentally, from a proceedings point of view, from a conference setup point of view, those are two different
It can be a
things.
workshop that doesn't have proceedings. Right? It's just an event. I don't.
No, but I mean, you're really talking about an extended conference session, right?
Yes, but that's not.
So it's kind of two sessions to the.
But the Grand Challenge track will have multiple grand challenges,
Yes,
right? So
yes,
this
yes.
is something
This is one
that
of
will
the
need.
grand
This is
challenges.
going to this is one of the grand challenges,
That will
but
get
then
treated
it will be
differently to everybody else.
that will presume. Well, that's the question, right? Is the Grand Challenge part different to everybody else, or is it just, oh, by the way, there's this second half to the event that is not technically part of the Grand Challenge, but is another thing that happens interactively?
Let me turn the question around and say, let's say we get 3 grand challenges in. 2 are conventional. 1 is conversational search that requires an interactive element. We accept it, right?
Yeah.
We don't say no.
So some grand challenges,
So
if you look at AC Multimedia grand challenges, there is this, I believe, longest running one. I don't know how they call it, social media prediction or something like that. It started with is it JD.com? I don't know who sponsored it. There is even significant money involved there, and there are teams. Does anybody know that one?
No.
It's pretty large at AC Multimedia, and it's been running for like maybe, I will say 5 to 10 years already, and they always have 2, 3, like they have a leaderboard somehow beforehand, so it's asynchronous, but also they have different ones. One is like social media prediction, that's like something like about popularity of the media, like mostly marketing type of task, and the other one is, I don't know, something, but they clearly have separate kind of scoring mechanisms and so on and so on.
Check how many grand challenges there were this year.
Something in the order of 10ish. 10ish?
I mean, the typical Grand Challenge is asynchronous, right?
Yeah.
Where you do all the evaluation in advance and
Yeah.
then you just push
It's like Echo.
Yeah,
Man.
yeah.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a lot of grand
10ish
challenges.
plus minus.
Mhm.
Check them.
Yeah, I think if you try to make the interactive part during the Grand Challenge track of the conference, it has 2 disadvantages. I think in the sense that you don't treat the challenges in the same way how you
No,
allocate the
no.
time budget. That's one thing, and the other thing is, as you said, you want to present leaderboard or results. You don't know that or just know it 5 minutes before. So if you do that in a workshop session before, then you could have these things, and maybe you do. I don't know. That's proceedings wise. This is a logistics question because you might
Yeah,
want to
but
update the paper as well.
But then logistically, it would be 3 independent things, right? And you say, well, there is a classic entry into Grand Challenge track that just presents Grand Challenge things, whatever. There might
This is
be
also-
a non-archival workshop that happens on the day before the thing to actually do the interactive part of the experiment. And there is a sub-session in the demo track that has the things that just opens this up to everybody. And then it fits neatly in all the categories the conference has anyway. I mean, with a bit of, but we can do that. But at least it doesn't introduce something fundamentally new. So if somebody wants to do this next year or the year after or whenever, it doesn't completely break the
And if we
format.
want asynchronous, we need to have an associated workshop as part of the proposal.
Also for synchronous, we need a workshop then.
Sorry,
Well, it's not. It doesn't even necessarily need to be a proper workshop
Right.
with
Like it won't have
separate goals and
publications.
It's still part of the Grand Challenge. We just essentially need to have a room booked during the workshop part of the conference, so it doesn't interfere with.
I think it, like using the word workshop is probably, we need to find another word that
I mean,
bring
it's-
confusion
it's
with
the-
other
It's
workshops.
the interactive session.
Interactive
of,
session
But
of
LSC
yeah.
is
The
also a
challenge,
workshop.
LSC is a workshop.
Yeah.
Yes, but LSC is
only
or
as an actual. We tried to get LSC as a special session, permanent special session, and there was pushback from ACM.
Yes.
Yeah. But it's not a challenge. I mean, it's just the workshop.
right,
Yeah, a workshop.
Yes.
But we would need publications.
Yes, but the publications would
Is
go
it
into
Grand
the Grand
Challenge?
Challenge.
Yes.
Yeah.
They come from there.
Okay.
Yeah.
The
Yes,
workshop
that's true.
doesn't need publications, just needs a
That's
room.
true.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, the only thing is, if you want to update your paper after the interactive session, then the proceedings would need to come after the conference.
You're
right?
not.
Oh, that's
No,
why should we do that?
There's-
No,
No,
with them not possible.
Okay.
but
There's no need to do that.
but also for the Grand, are
You
all
mean for the
the
results, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So,
Yes, there could be an archive paper
Well,
later on.
I mean, if you know the location of the results beforehand, you could basically put it into any paper. The live result
Guys,
would be there.
how about
Yeah,
this
but if you
one?
want the proceedings available at the start of the conference, that the workshop would technically
we-
happen after.
how-
Yeah, no, but I'm
Is
saying
this?
yes.
to
Sure.
actually replace those papers with upgraded versions, talk very nicely to people.
not needed. You know why not needed? We could do the same as you do for MMM, for example. And then after this is done, because kind of MM has this deal with Tom traditionally, we go for a Tom paper, kind of with everybody who participated as an, okay, you don't like
Right.
whatever. But it's already
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Tom paper with everybody who participated as an author, like it's gonna be paper with lots of authors, or you don't like that?
No, I think it's great. The only
We
thing
can-
is that we are already overloaded with the other papers, right?
Okay.
We'll have the results of the asynchronous run for the paper writing.
Yeah.
So we have that.
Yeah.
It's just the interactive element that's
Yeah.
problematic.
I mean, what we can say is that a requirement to participate in the interactive
It's
part
not
is
necessary.
to. Well, let me finish my sentence. The requirement to participate
point.
in the interactive part is to participate in the same subtasks for the non-interactive because then your stuff is going to be evaluated beforehand. And then also you can do by the way, we also do this live. And then it can still be, it's archived sometime, somehow, whatever.
Yeah, I get
later.
it.
I have one question. Do we need to make it synchronous? Couldn't we just do it asynchronously like DragQueen always does with the ABS task? ABS, yeah. Because it can be interactive also if it is asynchronous.
Well,
they have an interactive task, for example.
I mean, we have this system that is perfectly capable of running interactive evaluations asynchronously. We just never used it,
Yes.
Yeah.
but it is there.
Yeah.
We could even do that.
It is more
There,
interesting.
there are some. I mean, you're losing the whole visibility thing, but then
Yeah.
you can still move this to the demo session.
Yeah.
That would be an option. So then you can essentially run the whole thing beforehand.
Yeah.
You get your results back.
Yes.
You get your results back more or less immediately. You don't know how well you did in comparison to everybody else before everybody finishes, but you at least know how well you did. I mean, Dres can do this.
And the results will be presented at the Grand Challenge.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Then we don't
Yes,
need to run
we
a
can-
grand challenge except in the demo session, which is a
Yes.
fun thing.
And then it's essentially everybody who submits an interactive thing gets a free slot in the demo session if they want it.
Yeah.
People will be encouraged to do that because we can say, okay, there's going to be a best sub demo thing, whatever, for like a novice, something judged in some means to be determined, just to give people a bit of an extra encouragement to actually show up and show their thing.
Yeah.
And then it would also fit neatly into the timeline. We just need to have a trace instance that does this and tech support and whatever, because people cannot be bothered to do the opening correctly. But I mean, we have the technology in place to do this sort of thing. That would probably simplify this.
Yeah, I think so.
So it's just a demo session. Fine. In the
The
interactive.
demo session, but the competition.
Well,
in
the challenge session, of
Yeah.
course, as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you just have
the challenge session of one that happens like 2 months early.
For example.
Yes.
No,
But
No, at the conference.
At the conference,
Regular-
there's still the challenge
just
session.
a regular grand challenge session
Yeah.
that presents the
Yes.
results and
Yeah.
you discuss.
Yes, but
the
not an
story.
actual competition that's taking place in the
No.
grand challenge
Yes.
session.
No,
That's happened in
there's
September.
there's a probably before that
Yeah.
because people will need to submit their papers. So this
Right,
is
right. Must be
some
before.
summary.
The time frame isn't great.
No, the time frame isn't great.
No, but what you
who
could-
needs sleep, right? It's
But
there's-
what you could do is like you ask for papers before describing the systems and just leave like a quarter page for results, and then people
For the camera ready.
update this for the
No.
camera ready.
Yeah.
Not the standard one, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I get that.
Because that's what Trackbit also does.
Yeah.
And
You,
it's
you
not
update your scores, but then you don't see everybody else's scores
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
you're at the event, which makes it more interesting to attend.
Yes. You can get provide like 10 sample queries and then you put the result there and
One
then
thing
you
that
go
I
back.
figured
Yeah.
out from that discussion is that I don't know if we can deliver that, but I really wanted things to be more interactive, engaging.
It still can be interactive. And engaging would be the demo session.
But when you say demo, so there is a demo session at the.
Yeah.
Do you want a separate demo session or within the? grand
no
challenge?
within the regular demo session.
But
Logistics
then
to be
we have
determined.
to really then synchronize with the demo chairs because you know
That's
lots of
okay.
demos were rejected actually this year. They rejected like 3/4 of
Yeah,
the
but
demos.
we can
Yes,
reserve
but
that
demos,
slot.
but demos this year
You
was
understand what I mean? You
somehow.
have to say, oh, pending that you are accepted as a demo.
No,
You'll be able to
no,
capture
no.
all
They,
that.
they don't need to be accepted as
No.
demo.
No,
This is-
they
We
get
just
they get a
insert them into the
they
demo
get a
session.
free slot in the
Yeah.
demo program, and the demo chairs will have to deal with it.
Yes.
Because worst case, we're just gonna give them. So I mean, the way this is currently kind of penciled in the program is that one room would be permanently set aside for demos and the interactive art during the whole thing. Worst case, we just say, well, no, one of these days the demo chairs don't actually get to decide anything. All the demo slots are already taken up by this, and the rest of the slots are for the demo chairs to decide. But we can figure this out.
I mean, it might be good to do that anyway. To
If you
have
can decide that, then.
Meeting and somebody else, isn't it?
Demo chair.
You're
No,
the
you're
interactive
the
art.
interactive art
No,
chair.
the interactive.
But it might be anyway good to have it like a fixed time slot for that because
Yes. Yes.
also people have to be there
I
to
mean,
running it, and you get more dynamics if more people are there at the
Yes.
same time.
And I mean, probably we will have a concurrent, a continuous slot for all the demos that
Yeah.
just goes through the whole program, and then just the demos rotate through. depending on how many demo submissions and whatever, right? To be determined. That room also works because there we
Is that
have,
the open space?
yes,
Yeah.
that would be the half of the big plenary.
There'll be lots of people hanging around because it's beside the bar.
Yes, and it's where we would anyway stream the overflow from the room next door. And
It's a very busy
thing,
place.
yeah. So this would work, and this would also have the best visibility, which is why
Yes.
I would also want to put the demos there. In contrast to this year, where they were behind 3 rows of poster walls.
Okay.
So just one more question, just so you know that we covered everything. And the reason for not going with standard VBS/LSC format would be because we want asynchronous part as well. That's the main reason.
The main reason I think is that it's simpler in every aspect.
Okay. Don't know.
Yeah.
And it fits very well to the format that they have in the Grand Challenge. And
Yeah, I think it fits the format of the Grand Challenge. We would not force people to have an interactive system. They could choose what they have.
Yeah.
You want to open a bit to more CV sort of crowd and
Possibly, yeah.
And there's not so much on-site stress.
Yeah.
Because this
Yeah.
is always a really
Because there might be 1 or 2 other things going on at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay.
this is definitely different at ACM Multimedia than it is at MMM or ICMR, which is like
Who are our
one
Yeah,
order
so-
of magnitude smaller.
Who are our Grand Challenge shares?
I don't remember.
We better
Min
make sure
Sun
we
down.
intercept them to say so they don't reject
Isn't-
our Grand
is-
Challenge. And they say it's too
I
big.
think it's Min Trick and Min Sun.
Okay, fine. Okay, right. Okay. Okay.
I think.
Good.
I'm not so sure.
You okay?
I remember that.
Fine.
so some corruption, high level corruption caught on camera. Very good, very good.
Yeah, very good.
No, it's not that.
No, it's called bribery. Sorry.
No, these people already understand how these challenges run, so they will actually be able to.
Yeah.
No, because Min Triet takes part in LSE and VBS. He understands. Min Sundao understands. Who's
Yeah.
one person?
I don't know. I think only 2.
Werner is checking, I think.
Yeah, I'm trying to check.
Graham is
I'm
workshop.
just finding the webpage is not particularly mobile friendly
No, it's
because
not-
the
it's not
poster,
on the page yet.
the header
These things
covers
are not on
half
the
of the
webpage
screen.
yet. We have a magic internal document that has all the names.
Okay.
Those are not published.
Oh, this does not help. No,
Need a web
sideways.
Need a web chair.
makes it worse. You can't scroll
Currently the
past
web chair
the
we just
Can
need
you
a
request a
crackhead to
desktop
actually
version?
publish stuff to just.
So depending on when we wanna eat, maybe.
I'm happy that we've done enough. We can summarize this again tomorrow morning. Make sure everybody's on the same page.
No.
Figure out the
same.
hackathon day too.
There were more things on the agenda, but sure, whatever.
Hackathon.
Hey, tell us.
What was on the agenda for today technically was figure out also all the data augmentation things which would feed into the hackathon, plus all the collections for. Now we know the set of sensors we have. Now, what would we want to do for any future iterations, and how would people possibly think of could this be done? This is not necessarily something that needs to be discussed now, even though it was in the agenda, but then technically it was in the agenda for this morning. So, the
So what does Castle 2 look like?
Yes.
So too.
Let's assume that Castle 1 has not been a disaster. It's been very successful. Except chicken. With the
Alright, let's
exception
skip
of the
over the
second
food.
fridge, Castle was pretty successful.
So far, the second fridge was the biggest fail.
Could be the best
Well,
thing if we kept
I
it
realized the
outside,
brand is
outdoor.
called Hot Point, so
Okay.
why do we expect
No,
it to
no,
get
but-
cold?
I feel they did not understand the assignment.
I think for Castle 2 it would be great to have less of a focus on food
Yeah.
and preparation of food and logistics of food.
But that's what
literally
brings
makes
us
it
all
cool.
together.
And that's
I
what
feel like, I mean, it can certainly be an aspect. I feel like it's been exaggerated this time
a little bit
around.
too much.
It's
Yeah.
perfect for the hackathon.
Maybe
Yeah,
just
sure.
one dinner
So
per
if you-
day.
And then do
once per
takeouts,
day,
yeah,
and they
yeah.
do takeouts for the rest.
I mean, ideally
Yeah.
there would just be more people, and then
Yeah,
you
more
would
people.
have fewer people in per. You would have a smaller fraction of people involved
More
in
people.
But then
Cooking.
the cooking organization is going to be messier with
Yeah.
the shopping
No,
list and
because
stuff.
then you would have
With the except-
people
yeah.
who are explicitly in charge of things which we did not have. It's, oh yeah, everybody does something, and then but the people who do the shopping and the people who actually do the cooking are not the same people, and information gets lost along the way, and nobody knows what's going
Well,
on.
I think we did a good job, right? We had almost everything we needed. We got almost everything right.
Well,
I think we did
everybody-
well with
I
what
would-
we had.
Very
We
well,
could
I
have been
think.
What are you
streamlined.
saying that we should do?
I would argue the whole thing was well done, but there is a comma in there.
I would say very well. Even.
Yeah.
Okay, people
didn't.
didn't get the joke. It's fine.
I got it. It's okay.
So,
Well done.
just as an example, how do we do it on a boat? Very light breakfast, in a sense, spreads.
We
cheese
could do
and
lighter
blah, blah.
breakfast and Irish breakfast.
Then
yes.
lunch is really cooking. Evenings we always do in a restaurant. So
If we had gone to a
You
restaurant,
are aware that this is not a boat. This has different
the
boundary
challenge
conditions.
is, if we'd gone to a restaurant every night, it would have added an extra 3,000 or 4,000 euros to the cost.
yeah, no.
We couldn't do it on
It could be
10,000.
Right.
Take
On
out.
our own.
On our own budget, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the other logistics here is there is no restaurant nearby that's open every night. Right?
That's why we chose this vessel, because it was so far from everything, there's nowhere to go, right?
There is another. I mean, another option is basically if it's possible to add a couple of people who do some of the cooking,
Just do the
explicitly,
Or helpers.
just do the cooking. So that would be one option. Yes, but
Hey, but
but,
guys, also that process, you'll see later on,
Yeah.
is also valuable as a data. So people
Absolutely,
do something together.
absolutely.
One
So
does
you-
this,
you-
another
yeah,
one does
you-
that,
you
another
do
one
not-
does that.
you do not
There are
want-
other things you open
The
the list,
disagreements as part of it is all part of the data set.
Totally.
Yeah.
No, but the thing is that just the whole everybody does everything somehow, and nobody's responsible for anything, and nobody's in charge, and nobody knows what's going on because
Okay,
everybody
I
does
agree.
everything.
If we had Alice here, we'd all be on time, right? Alice would be late, right? We need an Alice.
Possibly, we
With a
just
clipboard going around.
we just
going,
need
Get over there. That's what
yeah. So
Alright.
basically, you're saying So that's actually a point. You need a manager, essentially, who is not
yes taking care of
Of that.
of the logistics, of the
Yes.
details, of all the goings on.
Right.
You need a
Yes.
Jennifer to organise in advance, you need an Alice to organise when we're here.
Yeah.
Or equivalent.
Well, or something that floats over, right? It's, okay. But so that's maybe slightly less, emphasis on cooking and then some better organization. So that's a couple of points.
Yes.
Yes.
And what about technical aspects?
But
2
actually,
years from now, maybe the hardware could be.
This wasn't too
Different.
bad, right?
yeah.
It's not
Actually,
too bad.
I
I'm
thought
quite
it would be
comfortable.
worse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's worked really well.
Middle of the day, my head was hurting quite a bit, but it's getting better.
But
That was something else. That was the second.
Yeah,
biggest
well, I
issue.
think
No,
it's
but
a bit of a
yeah,
pressure
the-
cooker. Let's
it's
say.
it's decent. It's not great, right? So
Yeah.
there.
No. And no complaints
But
because
I've-
it's,
we were stuck with what we already
exactly.
happen to have
Yeah, no.
in a closet in DCU.
Yeah.
Right? We didn't have the
I
budget.
think it's a.
If ACM give us 20,000 next
Yes.
time or 30,000,
Yes.
sure we'll do something much nicer.
Yeah.
We made it work.
Yes, to maybe just
40,000, 50,000.
just one comment to what Björn said about the cooking. I think it's a good idea to have dedicated people cooking, but after
Not all the
thinking
time.
about it, I think it's very nice that we had here so many different dishes done by different people, and we could look up them later on. And also, it's a lot about life, right?
Yes,
We
no,
do life vlogging.
absolutely. So
Improvisations.
Yes.
I would clearly vote against like the catering aspect of
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, I think so.
But it needs, in general. I mean, we had very little in terms of an agenda, which in some aspects is good. It gives people the freedom to do this. There needs to be more agenda, like in general, right? And people behind the scenes making sure that the agenda can actually happen, because now everybody who runs around doing things is also
Right.
so there's no behind the scenes
Right.
support.
You need a
for
production crew.
Yes, essentially, right?
Yeah.
For a lot of things, also for various setup-y things, that just takes time and resources that we did not really have this time around. So essentially, if there were the option to do this with a larger crowd of people, in a larger location, it would probably make sense to.
But thinking, go back to the schedule we had from 3 months ago, we didn't implement. That was everything was half an hour blocks. And for this half an hour, you're planning.
Maybe half an hour
But
is just too much. That's too much.
It doesn't need to be half an hour blocks, but essentially really clear and strict assignments. As in, look, we have a workshop part. This is this time window. We have lunch. Lunch always happens at this time, which necessitates this time block before. And it's those people, those really know what they're gonna have, right? Everything, there's like checklists and stuff.
Right.
This time is dinner,
Right.
this necessitates this.
We're not that far off it.
No. But basically
But it
having
did not
somebody.
really, it wasn't really implemented like this, because it's, oh yeah, but let's do this an hour later. Oh no, let's swap these two
But I
things.
still
Oh no,
think
let's do this.
That is actually okay, because we
Life-
are still having
And
our
life is also
workshop.
chaotic sometimes, right?
Yeah, but that's but this is not supposed to be
If
like.
we
This
had
is supposed to well,
No, yeah.
If we had had an Alice equivalent here,
Right.
with a checkbox saying, okay, you have to do cook now, it's time to cook, that would have been okay.
It's also means if you had somebody who could basically run off to the store or
Yes.
drive off to the
yes,
store. Like daily.
some fixers
Yeah,
essentially.
the daily basically.
Yeah.
So what do we need for tomorrow?
Yeah. Like if one of us had
Yes.
been one of us three had been a helper, not a
Yes.
participant,
Yeah,
this
yeah.
was fine.
It's not
Or you
much
can learn how
of,
to drive.
but it's really there is somebody who's not part of the experiment who is running the show.
So
I
need a
think that's
manager,
kind of the
right?
main
Need a
thing.
manager.
I think this
We
is.
don't need managers. We need normal people. Alice.
Yeah. No, yeah. We need somebody normal to manage.
Essentially, it needs a production crew. It needs a
Yeah.
director behind the
Right.
scenes
Yes,
who's
yes, yes.
actually
So
on
that
top
thing-
of everything that's
and
happening.
that basically has authority over the participants.
Yes.
Yes. I think that's kind of the when you're taking part in experiments and having authority, it's a problem.
And also, if there's no clear schedule, it is also difficult to coordinate things because then it's I need to take care of my email. I might
Right.
as well do this now because nothing's going on.
Right.
And then people disappear at random
yes,
points
yes.
in time because there's no coordination between
Yeah.
them. And also if you say, well now we could do this, and then but 3 people are missing. Okay, now then we can't. And then
Right.
it just spirals, right?
We have to, if that's the case, we have to release a schedule well in advance. So
Yes.
I don't. Vern had to go out for a meeting this morning about 10 o'clock.
Right.
That we have to know that can only happen at 11.
Yeah.
Right?
But a person who has control of things, basically there's going to be fairly minor things that come up. You have this extra meeting that wasn't really scheduled. You have one more meeting, and there's and somebody can basically adjust this, and then the day before
Release a
here's a new
We need a
schedule for
printer.
tomorrow.
We need a printer. I know. I thought about buying a
Or
printer.
need an information screen. That's alternatively.
Yep.
Okay.
That's a good.
An iPad to display.
But I think the key is to separate, out whoever is running the show, the producer, right, from the participants.
Yes.
And
People, we did
So-
most of the things we were
so-
supposed to do, no?
But I think we did really well.
so we
We
should
can make
make
it better.
very clear that the
think
helpers
so
have
too.
been excellent.
Yes.
So this is not a judgment on that.
No, but I'm just like saying I expected a major disaster in all aspects, apart from an occasional camera failure that happened to some people. You know what I mean? There were no major disasters.
We were inevitably not going to get this fully right the first time.
No.
I think
Yeah.
nobody has run away.
No, literally, there was positive atmosphere all the time.
There was,
People
it was
didn't,
good fun, right?
You know, these social experiments you've probably seen on YouTube going wrong.
Part of the challenge was figuring out how to do this better
Yes, yes.
next time.
But I think this is a really good lesson. I agree with Luca on this part. I think that would make it more productive.
More people,
Yes.
bigger castle, and a manager.
So
But you know
Yeah.
what?
Well,
This can be
I'm not
also-
sure about the more people as part of the experiment.
Yeah.
Really.
Okay.
I don't know, maybe 12 rather than 10.
Yeah. But
Because you get more options with groups of 3 and
Yeah.
4.
Yes,
You
I
have
mean,
10,
also
12
in-
people.
But if it gets much larger, it
Yeah,
also has
exactly.
more challenges.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the only reason why, can I add one point in, why we didn't have more helpers was because there's a training week on for some of our
Sure.
PhD students from the group who couldn't come.
Sure.
And Robin couldn't come because she moved house last week. And
And
Lee Ting
cases.
isn't back.
Right.
And it was,
And thesis.
Thesis. Two people handing up their thesis this week.
Yes.
This
Yeah,
was
yeah,
why
yeah.
we
No,
missed.
Understood.
We actually
Understood.
wanted 4 helpers.
Yeah, understood.
Yeah.
And we bought a
Yeah.
we rented a house. So
But in any case, the role that you're describing would have been missing.
yeah. Always yes.
Yes. So, and I agree that this is kind of a key
We need
Yes,
aspect of
yes,
this.
and I mean this
I'm
is
completely in
the
agreement.
a coordinator,
yes.
coordinator.
on-site coordinator.
Yeah.
And then somebody who basically has authority over the experiment, right?
Yes.
I think
Yeah,
it's like having a.
who sets the agenda, who
like-
says
yeah,
no, now
yes.
you do the
It's a very similar problem in sports when you have a player coach, somebody who's playing on the field, they cannot manage. They need somebody on the sideline to run the show. It's impossible to manage on the field.
Coach.
Yes.
So
Because even if you're a coach, you can run the sessions before, but you need somebody
Yeah,
live.
I know.
But I mean, essentially, I guess this whole thing was much more ad hoc than it ideally would have been, which is fine. It was built with much less budget than it
should have.
has any right to work with.
Yeah.
For which yeah. So far so good, right? So all of this, yes, absolutely. But I mean, it's very much the. I mean, also more people, also more activities.
More activities.
More activities in the sense of, yeah, we kind of try to make it work by, oh, okay, what can we get? Oh, we can get a
Right.
few things to put stuff together. Oh, and we can get painting supplies, right? It was literally like that. It's not a
Yeah.
Yeah, it's more planning as well. More
top down,
Right.
thought out.
Sure.
It's really more of okay.
Sure.
Can we throw more activities at the thing to make it more interesting,
Right.
to make it
Yes.
more?
We should have a
diverse?
laptop of copyright-free movies.
Right.
We thought about it, we got some, but we never set it up.
Right.
So there's lots of
Same
things to
thing
fix.
with music,
Music.
I guess. So,
Maybe,
like a,
maybe
kind of music
longer
room.
activities as well, because most of these activities can be done
Yes.
by in 5
Yes.
minutes.
Also, I mean, the weather was mostly not cooperating, so there wasn't a lot of chance
So-
to do outdoorsy
Right.
things.
No.
This is just well.
But a house next time with a bigger garden where we can actually do things outside.
A treadmill to exercise so that people can be sane.
Sanity is overrated.
The reason why we're here is because this was the only house we could afford.
Yeah.
We'll fix that part.
I could have got you a castle, you would have all had to pay for your own flights and everything else.
That's fine.
It's different. It's different, right?
Yeah.
We will have spent over 10,000
Yeah,
euros on this.
despite all the things that you mentioned, I think
Yeah,
you went
yeah.
incredibly well
Yes,
so far.
so far so good.
many things
right?
to
I mean,
learn,
It's,
but
it's, it's not nothing is on fire.
Like nothing else.
Yeah.
Nobody in our community has tried to do this before.
Yeah.
There might have
The
been
only
a
time I've ever
reason.
seen this is this computing 10 years ago when they put some cameras up in a house and people went in and did some ADLs right for a weekend. This is far in excess of what that was.
Speaking of food, I think I have to go to.
Check the potatoes earlier. They were still rock solid. So
You have to
What
increase
would-
your step count.
might
What do we
take a bit.
say?
But this is one aspect. The other aspect was okay. We have the sensors we could get on short notice, mostly because you happen to have them lying around. This again, it worked. So far so good. We ran into some minor technical issues for various weird reasons. But this is certainly not the best setup to do this sort of thing, right? So I guess and this is not necessarily something we absolutely need to collect now, but maybe something to think about. Assuming infinite time and infinite budget, what would be the thing we actually wanted to do?
Right.
Because then we can go down from, okay, what
Right.
of this is actually feasible to do?
Yeah. And I mean, so there's a question, what if the price of admission, let's say, had been to buy some kind of equipment? So everything is paid for except you need to bring your own set of goggles or whatever, right? Would people run into trouble with this?
Could be there.
Okay.
You have to check how you like them.
Yeah, I
They're
don't know that.
It's
semi.
probably-
Yeah, it's hard
Oh,
to-
yeah.
Also, there's a different
Well,
attitude
it's probably
if you
fine.
bought your own equipment.
No, it's probably fine, right?
Like, I don't
As-
wanna do that type
Shall I
of
turn it
attitude.
off?
Yes.
What do you
Yes,
want?
Yeah,
yes,
keep it
turn
as
it off, turn it off.
Yeah.
Somehow it's a
Dump
community
it
of
out,
people.
then
Right.
they need to
Inherently,
cool down a bit.
everybody trusts everybody in this room.
Yeah.
And that's even
Right.
fundamentally what we need to have to get
Uh-huh.
this to work.
Right.
But if it was a €500 entrance fee and you get to keep your hardware afterwards, I wouldn't have any problem doing that.
No.
Yeah, probably.
And I think probably it's easier than like paying for like the travel, because it's easier to squeeze in some
Yes.
hardware budget somewhere than
You can convince that it's needed for some other project.
than having
yes, yes.
like official requests
Yes,
for
yes,
travel and
yeah,
things like that. So
No, it's just like,
If there is a thing out there you can buy.
Yeah.
No,
If we
yeah.
need to MacGyver it ourselves,
This is
then
still
it might
as
be
good
much
an
more.
option as
Yeah,
we're
yeah,
ever going to
yeah.
get at the moment.
Right. Yeah. No,
Something else
it's just
better
something to
is-
keep in mind,
Yeah.
so that if there is something that we desire,
Like, look at the
It's
challenges we
possible.
had with this.
Yeah.
Battery life. We went through numerous different options for batteries. I have 36 GoPro batteries in DCU. Like, we bought double of everything, right?
Right.
More. We even tried double A battery packs wired through a voltage regulator directly into it.
You cooled them
That
down a
didn't
bit,
work,
yes.
right? We had to go with this approach. Then they were overheating. We even tried fans inside. There was a huge amount of effort to get to what actually you're wearing right now, which actually works. So even if we did this again in 18 months' time, there's probably nothing better than this still that we can actually do.
now there's only I started to look already a very small thing which would be like a belt clip for the power pack, which is probably more convenient.
They were cheap.
Yeah, but
Euros
with
each.
a belt clip is probably not so expensive either.
You're also not using like. I just
Pocket.
Well, look,
Pocket,
that's
yeah.
we'll collate after we get
I
back.
have space in my pocket. Because
But I mean,
Yeah.
this is still assuming that this needs to be done on short-ish notice with off-the-shelf hardware.
yeah.
So assuming this was not a requirement.
I mean, throwing in another thought. I mean, it's of course putting another angle to the data set, but it could also be interesting to just give everyone a different type of device. So you would have like a heterogeneous data set. It causes other problems, but it could also provide other.
I'm already getting dizzy.
But it could also be interesting to
Yes.
see what you can get out of different
brain
types of
sensors.
devices.
You have to shave your head before coming.
I was able to make it.
BCI is actually on the list.
Yes.
BCI is definitely on the list.
We could do portable BCIs. Yeah, no problem.
Well,
Expensive.
no problem is well. There's
Financial
a whole cascade of problems, but we could probably make it work.
We could put a BCI cap on everybody in the morning time. Now,
Not
your hair
with the
might
time
get
budget we
pretty
had to prepare
smelly.
this, but it's
We'd need
Yeah.
Graham Healy's equivalents, right? To set
no.
up.
We just need to actually. He was
Not equivalent.
He was
Graham
not,
is
he
on
was-
holiday
he
this
was
week.
not available this week. Otherwise, he would have been here.
Causing trouble.
Possibly, yes.
Sneaking out for pints. I would love
Is
eye
this
tracking.
slander already, or
That's Graham.
This is like-
That's Graham.
you're not?
Eye tracking on the glasses would be very nice.
Eye tracking would be very nice. Yes. That would be awesome.
What is actually the eye tracking experiment? I still don't understand.
Just
the
a
purpose.
That was a
reading
reading.
experiment.
Just gathering data for a reading task.
What
There's a demo at ASA Multimedia.
What is the
later.
research question?
For the eye tracking,
There's
what's
not
the
really a
research
big
question?
research question here. We had to use it because we brought the hardware to here.
Ah, okay.
You know what's also cool? I heard from our forensics friends what I kind of like these days is from data to activities. So basically, which kind of activities could you reconstruct from the sensors, like mobile, if you have it in a back pocket, in a backpack, in a front pocket, can you reconstruct the
Yeah, but
activity based on
I mean,
it?
that's basically what you can do with the Fitbit, right?
Yeah, but most people in criminal cases don't wear Fitbits, you know, like
Yeah.
most people have a mobile somewhere,
Yeah.
like in a backpack, in a,
Yeah.
which kind of activity can you
We would
recognize?
have provided everybody with a cheap Android phone
Yeah.
and running sensors
Yeah.
next time. It's another thing for our helpers to keep charge, but yeah, you can do that.
Well, you will get an IMU stream. I hope.
Basically, we could because now one of the few sources of funding that's going to remain is going to be the security fundings. So that's another thing to think about if we kind of make ourselves relevant to them.
Right.
So what do
In
we say
Netherlands at
to
least, yeah.
somebody who says, I'd like to run this experiment myself?
Be careful what you wish for.
Yeah.
Does anybody think we shouldn't have done it?
No.
No, I think it's great. I would do it again.
I would do it again. Absolutely. We
It's
will do
still
it
one
again.
morning.
I'm assuming that we will end up doing this again at some point, 18 months or 24 months down the line.
Mhm.
Somewhere. It doesn't have to be here. It can be anywhere.
Yeah.
Klagenfurt,
I'd
Edinburgh.
prefer
Iceland.
18 over 24 because that would land it in summertime.
It
Or
doubles the
20
price.
or 30.
It doubles the price of.
Or 30.
Like
Or,
this,
or 30, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
also fine.
this is 3,000 euros for the week. It's 5,000 or 6,000 in the summertime.
Right.
But it gives you the outdoors.
Goes with retailers. Look,
Which are
next time we
much
go back to
larger.
ACM, we're asking for 20, 25,000. If
Ask,
they're happy
ask
with
for
it.
more, they're gonna scope it down
Yeah,
again.
we asked for 35.
Yeah.
We got 10 or something.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. But I mean, there is a chance, I would say, that this is, if this is successful, then it's
We certainly have the right to
possible
go
to
back and
get
ask
a
for
higher
Yeah.
grant next time.
Yes.
I would
I
say.
think we've done a lot with
Yes.
10,000.
Yep.
More
Because then you can be fairly concrete about what those extra funding would buy you compared to what you would have now. So I think that's, for example, better weather. That's gotta be worth. That's gotta be worth a few $1,000s, a few
Quite,
euros.
quite expensive
make
to
it-
purchase.
Yeah, I know.
But
But I mean, but
make
that
it a
buys you
joint-
other activities, right?
You
So-
make it a joint geoengineering project.
yeah. No, I mean you can at least buy the odds of better weather, right?
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Yes. So timing, location combined to that, right?
was.
What about some device
Klagenfurt.
people
in summer.
can manual?
Would be
Yeah, I
pretty-
said, I said if you wanted
Or in
something like
winter.
here,
Or they moved or something like that. Or
Yeah,
just
not for better weather.
Manual
Inclusive
or
of
something.
skiing.
Or
Yes,
just
yes,
some
yes, yes.
ground
Oh,
truth or
that's why I said if
anything.
you want a setting
That-
like here, very secluded, we could go to some hub
With
in
a
the
director,
Alps.
we can-
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, yes, yes.
I mean, what
But
also
skiing
is a thing
That would work.
activity
Everybody gets a
with
phone.
empty slopes.
Yeah,
some-
and they
Empty
will,
slopes.
yeah.
That's a problem,
We
right?
cannot recognize any other people.
Mostly
There's an
true.
application
Mostly
running on
true.
this
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
lets you log things
Mostly
that
true.
maybe even prompt you from.
So there's one
from
slope
time
where
to
you
time
actually
Yeah.
need the helmet to enter.
And gives you a web browser for looking things
No,
up
just
that's
saying,
not
you
tied.
agree with,
as well.
with
So
the
that people can do
organizers of
more
the
things
Tonk
as
and
areas.
all
Oh,
that
yeah,
stuff.
But for one
So
slope,
we
the
can kind of
helmet
wonder
is
in the
required.
hub, is it to-
But I
Did not
or-
be
Yeah.
I think we
Everybody
heard
has
at
a
the
helmet
conference a
in
lot
Austria.
about.
Everybody.
Hey guys, you
Yeah,
could
yeah.
have done this. Hey,
Oh,
this-
yeah, yeah.
These
Yeah.
are-
Yeah, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
People
We
we
have a lot
have
of
a lot.
You could have done it. Why didn't you do it that way?
Totally.
Okay.
Right?
Very good, very good.
Anything on that?
Did we
agenda we
answer
do?
your question, Luca?
Yeah.
More or less.
More or less.
So
Some start of an answer.
we still have one more workshop tomorrow
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
revise everything.
What
to understand
time do we
everything,
do it?
and
Okay, I
talk
have to make
about
that
the.
frosty.
Is there a task for somebody to summarize the discussion now?
We need to
For
write
tomorrow?
a SIGMM records paper.
We do need to write something.
Yeah.
I can summarize it now for tomorrow.
Yes.
Okay.
So just take.
I'll be a very quick summary tomorrow morning.
So what
Yeah.
Alex's question I think was important in the spirit of what Lucas said. What time tomorrow?
What time for breakfast and then?
Breakfast at 9.
Okay.
Workshop at 10.
Okay.
Yes, yes,
Lunch.
yes.
And-
But for real this time.
Oh no
Smoked
lunch.
salmon.
Cause lunch.
No,
I
that's
will-
lasagna.
I will make lunch.
Breakfast at 8.
No,
Oh.
breakfast.
Okay, light breakfast at 9 that doesn't require any cooking because we don't have anything left to cook.
We
Yeah.
have plenty of cheese.
We have
So
we have
we have
a lot
plenty of bread,
Prepare
cheese.
the
We have
Cheese
butter.
board.
lunch now.
No,
We have
cornflakes.
cornflakes. We even have
Tomorrow.
oats for those
We
who
also
want to
have
make
like
themselves.
2 hours.
Christmas
Yeah.
pudding or whatever this is, and
Right, but
Christmas
that-
pudding things. And
How about everyone has their
but
own
second
breakfast
hour
in
is
any
ours,
place
right,
and
exactly.
be
Yeah,
there
everybody
at
make their own
9
breakfast
for
tomorrow.
So the
Nine
work,
workshop.
the lasagna, basically the second hour of preparation is inside the oven.
Okay.
So
why don't we do
that's
the
workshop
at
time.
that point.
I will, yeah,
So
exactly.
I guess
I-
originally the idea was to prepare the lasagna today, and then
Yeah.
tomorrow you
No,
could
but
just
I
put it
switched
into the
this
oven.
idea.
But
Yeah.
But we could basically, I mean, can it be prepared in parallel to breakfast?
So I think we're doing the workshop
Maybe
at
not.
I could
Immediately after breakfast.
I would also like to have
1 to
breakfast and then I
2.
can do. Yes.
No,
Immediately
just
after
maybe
breakfast.
after.
And we just throw a bunch of people at it. We finish it in half
Okay,
an
so
hour.
to.
Well, the
do
pasta
one.
cooking with
I can help tomorrow.
Could we
Okay,
have this
yeah,
time
thank
for
you.
breakfast?
That would be helpful.
Like a no breakfast and a brunch, which is lasagna.
Yeah.
And somebody wants to get food at
Oh my God.
9 o'clock, there's plenty of food there.
that is an alternative. Yes.
There's the pressure on me in the
So if
morning.
we have brunch at 11,
No, you have to cook now.
right, followed by the workshop.
Yeah, I guess it makes sense when we go early already to the salmon.
Okay.
Yeah.
No.
Then we
Salmon's
start
at
preparing
3:20.
the lasagna maybe already
Lunch
at
at
8.
11.
Yes.
Yeah, fine.
That's fine. And you can snack while you're doing this.
Yeah.
And we can have some
You
cornflakes
eat uncooked
or
pasta and then.
Yes.
whenever we decide we want to do, right?
Yeah.
And
Instead
then we
of
have
cornflakes, you
breakfast
take
followed by
uncooked pasta,
salmon,
put
followed
milk
by
on it.
steaks. And then we're back not too late tomorrow night because someone like Klaus has to leave at 5 a.m.
Yeah. Right.
Well, we'll see tomorrow what the weather forecast says. If it says
Oh, the weather
roads.
forecast is what I read earlier on.
Yeah, I mean,
110 kilometre per
Yeah.
hour winds.
yeah.
Sea breaching the
Can you
coast.
change your
Yeah.
Flooding.
flight?
Oh, really?
Disaster,
No.
Storm Daniel, whatever it's
That,
called.
Yeah.
That's Friday or
Friday.
Saturday?
Friday and
Saturday.
Saturday.
Okay.
Yeah. You have an idea if there's
Cliffs
a
of
risk?
Moher, not so much.
Closed,
No.
orange level weather warnings.
Okay.
So you think
How will
that-
it is?
That flights will be delayed or cancelled?
No, that's in the west, not the east.
Kawa.
Okay.
How will it is?
Okay.
Hovel.
Yes.
We can all go to the hovel, no problem. There's no toilet there, but that's okay. It's a hovel.
There's lots of trees.
Lots of trees.
Yes.
Excellent.
But
And
they're
we have
outside
toilet paper here.
in
so-
the storm.
Yeah. But then, you know, any traces of whatever you do will disappear very quickly.
Look where someone else is compared to the wind direction.
So don't stay downwind, for sure.
So you're probably not doing the cliff.
How will it is?
Hey.
How will it is?
Are you still doing the cliff?
No,
let's see-
it's
let's
gonna
see
be
on-
impossible,
Let's see
basically.
on Saturday morning what's
Yeah,
really like.
it
They do tend to overestimate the day.
the way
I mean,
if that
orange
is
in Dublin is
if
nothing,
that is
but I don't
reality,
know
then
about
it's
here.
impossible.
Huh?
Orange in Dublin is nothing, but I don't know about here.
I think it hits
No,
here.
here orange is a proper weather, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
Look, let's make a decision on Saturday morning.
City
Have a breakfast.
city weather is always much milder than
Whereas clouds
proper
have to
coast
be
weather.
A bit more cautious in driving for the first hour. and a
But
half.
no,
Once you get to
everybody
Galway, you're
is-
fine.
Yeah, on the main roads, yes.
Um,
I
Have
thought
the
you would
GPS
just be
ready.
Yeah,
driving.
I have to decide.
If
Yeah,
there's
but
ever
I,
you gotta
incident
drive.
on the
Well,
M50
I
around
can
Dublin,
see, I
he's not
can
getting to the
see.
airport.
So we can decide.
You might also pre-download the local map, the GPS.
The GPS.
There will be points on the
Google Maps.
M50 where you can get
But
off the
you
No,
know,
I have
I-
Google Maps with me.
Yeah, but if you pre-download the local map, then you basically, even if you run, if you're not well connected in this area, you can still
yeah,
record it. So at least for until you hit the highway.
yeah.
And even on the highway, if you
But
hit the
until
M50
the highway,
and
it's
just
very
accident,
simple. It's one road you
it
follow.
can just stop. And
Until
you
you
can stop for
have
an hour,
something
just a
wrong,
single ring
right?
road.
Yeah, but
you're
until
right.
Solway, it's pretty
You've
simple.
got somebody keeping an
forgot
eye on
which
the.
So that would be a problem for us, yeah.
What?
You would miss your flight
Yeah.
If
the
If there
M50 is
is
stopped.
a
yeah,
congestion.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
It's quite a lot of trees on the M55.
Lots of trees.
Yeah.
But look, in reality,
No, but,
But
we,
I
we
think
don't
always
need,
so far inland, it's not going
but
to
we
be so
don't
bad
need
there.
much of
Always fine.
M50,
Yeah.
right?
Just that
If we
we-
drop you
This
again,
area.
we didn't use much of M50 because if we drop
True.
Ali again, then
Yeah.
And then let
you use about
let
half
see
the
you-
M50. Oh, to Finglas, yeah, then you can go the back road to the airport.
Yeah.
You'll be fine.
Yeah.
You will
I
also
In
expect
DCU.
that.
I mean basically we
There's
took
not so
a
many
short,
trees here.
a short stretch on M50
Yeah.
until
So like,
Finglas and
if-
then
Yeah, there's only two exits to go, right?
Yeah.
Like this,
And
right?
then from Finglas you can go to the airport to the
And
back
Yeah.
road.
Finglas is there, M50 is
But we,
there, right?
yeah.
That's
But
my
I
place.
expect, I think we will go to the Havel with you.
And the airport's there.
That will be the
Okay, so this
sightseeing
is
part
not
of
a
the
big,
trip.
It'll be quite disappointing.
Extra.
Yeah, yeah,
Because
no,
the
no,
kitchen
no.
isn't finished, the bathroom isn't finished,
No, no,
the
no,
water
no.
isn't on.
Yeah. We can do a little bit of work if you want. Some tiling,
Damn, I should have ordered a skip in advance.
you get the toilet installed.
The toilet is there, he just hasn't turned on the water.
Yeah.
I don't know where to turn it on.
Pierre
If
will
you
do.
can find the water,
Oh,
we
to
can use the
turn it
toilet.
on?
Yeah.
Well, we can bring water.
We have
That actually works, right? I mean, you
Well,
can
I've never-
flush
Yeah, of
with the
course,
water.
yeah.
Yes,
I
yes,
suppose the workshop
I
is
mean,
done.
that's what you do when the
yes.
Workshop's done.
Have you watched a movie?
Let's watch a movie.
So on your laptop?
Is there something?
I would like to watch Elephant Stream.
Elephant Stream.
Can
Is
you
it open
connect it
source?
to the...
Open source?
Yeah, it looks so
yeah.
Can you connect
I
to
don't
the
know. I
TV
want to see
so
it. I think
can
I've
watch
seen it so many times.
Yeah, I don't.
I have
I did not.
not so often end to end, but I
me
think
go to the
I've
bathroom
seen
first.
so many stretches
Right.
of it.
But there is another one, right?
Duck and cover.
Yeah, there is also the what's it called? Elephant.
Elephant string, and then there is. I don't. I know. Actually, I don't mean elephant string. I mean the other one.
Yes.
Grab a glass, I know where it's stashed.
I'm gonna grab the bathroom first.
Is there so baby?
There is here.
Hey, boss. Somebody's in there by the Remarkably successful. I'll get up tomorrow morning at 7 anyway.
Yeah.
If it doesn't turn up, I'll